Sometimes I think about myself. I wish I was.
Welcome back to Nasty Co, the collective. I think that's what we're calling the series now. We're on episode 2. We got a new special guest here. We want to go ahead and introduce Miss ASHA herself.
Hi.
ASHA, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Pretty good. I mean, we're out here, we're doing a little podcast and shit, we're trying to get the numbers up, realize what we're doing. Not too sure what direction we're going in yet, but we're doing it,
Gotcha.
So let me let the people know a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am 20 years old. I'm the lead singer for the band New Age Crisis. We play around Sioux City. We've been playing around Sioux City, Lamar's, kind of a few different spots like South Sioux. We're looking for more shows. Other than that, just really into music.
So how'd you get into the whole band right now? The band that you're in now?
The band I'm in now. So I was in a band last summer, and then that kind of broke up, and me and the guitar player for the band started dating, and so we decided to start another band, which is the band that we have now. We had 2 friends that he had known that play, so we got them. And
I think I heard one time that you said that it was really a difficult choice for your drummer. What you saying? Like, it was hard to look for one?
Yeah, I was just really picky about drummers just because my dad was a drummer and I kind of know what I want out of the sound. And so, we had a few people that we saw, videos of or that we knew played around here. But I was like, no, we're going to wait until we find someone that's the sound that I'm looking for. And then we met Zach and my jaw kind of dropped. I was like, there it is.
Oh, what kind of style do you guys have for your band? Like, what kind of genre would you say?
I'd say it's kind of like alternative, rock. We try to do a lot of more throwback rock, more 90s, 80s style stuff. But I like to add a metal sound to it too, just slightly.
So how many original songs do you guys have so far?
Right now, I think we have about 6 done.
Oh, wow.
4 that we've been playing live, but we're working on an album, so the whole album should be done within the next few months.
What's the title of the album?
We actually don't have a title yet.
Oh, really?
I like to finish everything before I'll write a song before I put a name on it, so I'll finish the album before I put a name on it.
Okay, so Quentin Tarantino, his whole movie, his whole concept of when he directs movies, he knows that a movie needs a good story always needs a beginning, middle, and end. But he just says that it doesn't have to be in that particular order, it has to have all 3, but it doesn't have to be beginning, middle, end, So he likes to put them in different spots. So I guess that's how you kind of see your music, you finish it and then you go back to the jump where you have to start with the name,
Yeah, that's kind of
that's pretty cool.
It's kind of when you're jumping around the album, writing the first song and then the last song, and then the third and then the 6th,
I also heard that there's some criticism on doing that as well. That you're not supposed to make the single before you make the album itself.
And that's, I kind of had to fight the band on that, I guess, a little bit. Yeah,
that's what they thought?
No, I kind of wanted to save a lot of the songs, the better songs. I'm like, no, I don't want to release this yet. I want to keep this. This one that we're releasing in the next few weeks here, this is one of the better ones.
What's the song name?
It's called Villains.
Villains. Oh, wow. Yeah, I only saw a little bit of promo for it. I think I saw the cover art, and that's about it, right?
Yeah, we posted the video of the cover art.
Give me a little bit about, the description about the song, where you guys came up with the song. Is it more just, targeting a market, or is it something personal to you, or?
So this song, I wrote the lyrics on this one myself, and it was more about my views of kind of corporate men and people that own big businesses that treat their workers very poorly and pay them really poorly, and they kind of know that, but they're not going to admit to that because they're making the profit off of it, but they'll make a joke about it with their friends that are also doing the same thing.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of from the perspective of the corporate men, the big business owners,
So what message are you trying to portray, or what message are you trying to put out there with your single there?
With this one, definitely that I think that all workers should have better wages. I think that a $15 minimum wage isn't a big ask. I think that these corporations make millions and millions of dollars, and yes, they have a cost, but it's kind of been proven through the last couple of years that it's not as big.
I heard that a lot of people in Amazon that work for Amazon are going defecating in their pants because they got diapers on, because they rather work instead of going to the bathroom, which is maybe on the 2nd floor, and they're on the 5th or something, so they rather wear diapers to work than to get out of their station and go to the restroom.
It's funny because I did read something about that not that long ago, and then 2 days ago I saw something where Amazon posted that they're raising their minimum wage. So.
Yeah, I don't understand. And then I saw, what Seaborg is?
Yeah.
So Seaborg was doing recruitment little thing, where they were outside of a restaurant and they had a taco truck, and they were saying that if you apply, you get a taco. Which I'm like, what are you like, what kind of shit? So I guess if you want to go cut up some meat, go ahead and hit up Seaboard, because damn, that job is no joke, you know.
That's a new kind of sign-on bonus. You get a taco.
Yeah.
Not $500 a taco.
Fuck $500 a taco. Two tortillas. But yeah, no, like those jobs are nothing less than like amazing, because like those people that work those jobs are really busting their ass, you know, like they're really putting their like health and their time into it, and at the end of the day you get this paycheck, and then after that you get fired or like let go, and you know, like what a life. Like I've seen so many people say that they work like 20, 30 plus years for a company, and then the company fires them, or else they go out of business, and now that person is like either homeless or else they're broke, and then they're trying to like work at Dollar Tree even, and Dollar Tree wouldn't take them, you know, like it gets really serious out here. And that's why like when people talk about homeless people and they're like, oh, they just don't have a job or something, it could be something so like fucked that they could be on top one day and then just drop straight to the bottom, you know?
Well, the big thing with homelessness is like most jobs aren't going to hire you if you can't list an address on your application. And so then it's like, well, just go get a job. It's not always that easy.
See, we were looking for a place, me and my girlfriend are looking for a place, and the whole time we were trying to like fill out applications and everything, they're like, where have you lived before? But I'm like, how are you supposed to get a place without, okay, so like some places they don't take you without reference and without experience, and I mean like a year's worth of like living somewhere, you know? Mm-hmm. So what are you supposed to do when you don't have things like that, or a job requires you to have experience and you haven't even got to that point?
Well, and especially like a lot of nowadays there's more like credit checks, so most of us don't even have credit at a young age, and so you have to rely on your parents to co-sign those things for you. But if your parents have bad credit, then you're just...
And then how are you expecting that a college student would have like... And the reason I say college students is because they're expecting people to go to college right out of high school. So how do you expect a college student to have good credit when they got to take out a loan to even go to college, and now you're like fucked, and you know, like they fuck you in the whole way where like you're in a loan, or else you're struggling to make your own savings, you know? Like it's just like you either got to save up all your money, or else you got to borrow some money and then slowly pay it off.
Well, and I think it's kind of an issue that college, not that college is a bad thing at all.
No,
like, go to college if that's your dream, but I think that like it's such like you have to do this, otherwise you're not going to get a good job. Like that's not true anymore. You know what I mean?
But there's also places like Israel, I think. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think that Israel, out of high school, you go straight to the army for 2 years.
I don't know if it's everybody, but I do know, like, I had an acting teacher in college who was from Israel, and she said that she had served like 3 or 4 years directly out of high school. That's so like odd. So you do your 2-3 years, whatever it is, and then they give you like this vacation. So you go somewhere that you really wanted to go at the end of your term, and then you choose what you do next with your life, you know? It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I guess it makes kind of sense, because they're like, oh, you're serving your country. At least everybody's like mandatory to serve their country, but like, how do you take someone that's not made for that life into it, you know? Yeah. But I guess that's the world for us.
It's kind of strange the way that, like, I guess when you kind of look at areas that don't have the same society as we do, and then you kind of look at other areas, and it's like, how did we even get here from, like, running around looking at trees and stuff? You know what I mean?
I think they said the world started in Africa. So, like...
I've heard that.
So, like, damn, we made it fucking far. Yeah. We made it damn far. And speaking about, like, the world and going around and, like, speaking as the world in a whole, we got a big major issue to talk about today. And I guess I've been hearing a lot about it throughout the social sphere out there, just like anybody like having a conversation, like COVID vaccines, right? A big subject nowadays, a big controversial subject. Like as soon as you start to like have a opinion on it, it's like you're getting shut down, you know, whether it's either side. Like, and the fact that you have one side, I mean, it's just like, it's pretty crazy, but let's get a little into that, you know, let's talk about that. Okay, so let's get into the subject real quick. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the vaccine a little bit. And I guess I really wanted to bring up the subject of the stigma behind the word vaccine. And I guess it's just been talked about so much recently, and there's like this cancel culture that follows whoever talks about it. Mm-hmm. So I want to go ahead and get myself canceled a little bit today. I'm feeling a little edgy. So recently I've been watching listening to a lot of podcasts and seeing a lot of shows, and they have all been saying like, oh, or I guess some shows are just too scared to talk about it because they don't want to influence anybody not to do it or to do it, because there could be I don't know, any side effects or something. There's like a lot of people who are scared of like the government. So whatever the government provides, it's always like some sketchy stuff. But there's always, I guess, like conspiracy theories almost, you know. So I guess how do you feel about everything going on with it?
I mean, I feel like, you know, like, I'll be honest, like, I am vaccinated. I feel like I don't know if it's the best decision. I don't get a flu shot every year, so I can't say that I just get vaccinated all the time. I haven't had shots since I was like 14 years old, and so I feel like with this, I think it should 100% be a personal choice. I guess I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but a little bit of a conspiracy enthusiast, so I do believe that there is some stuff that the government hides from us, so I can understand people's concern, but I also, I guess in this way, I trusted it enough for me to get it.
What was the thing that pushed you to like, okay, maybe I should get it? What was that? Was it just like thinking about other people's health, or? For
me, it was like other people's health. I wanted to travel, but the main thing really was that I lost my sense of smell when I had COVID in October of last year, and I thought that if I got the vaccine, the smell would come back. Yeah. It didn't, so it didn't work out for me, but...
Yeah, kind of fucked. You said since October?
Yeah, so it's been almost a year, like 11 months.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay, well, shit. Well, I can't smell either, but I didn't get no COVID. I just can't smell. My nose is fucked anyway. But nah, I'm like, to be honest, like, I'm not vaccinated, but I've been like really contemplating the idea in my head. I've been like, you know, researching some stuff and looking into it, hearing other people's opinions and seeing like people around me who are vaccinated and seeing how they're, you know, reacting to everything. So far, I don't see anything bad with it, but I guess, I mean, that's about it. I just don't see anything bad with it. The only thing that I would say is that for people like myself that don't know shit about science, you know, like, I don't, like, who the fuck am I talking about this shit? So, like, in my head, it just makes sense to think about the people who are meant to be, like, researching shit like this, and then hear what they're saying, take it in, and then make your decision from there.
Yeah.
So, I guess I want to run some things up, because we have some facts instead of opinions, because I don't want to spread my opinions too far out, because I don't want anybody to be influenced based off my decision. So let's get into it a little bit. So I went on to the CDC. I went and I did some research because I wanted to go ahead and bring some attention to the subject. One of the biggest things behind the vaccine is that there's a big push to try to get the minority into like the idea of getting the vaccine more, because the numbers are pretty low. People who have received the first shot, at least one shot of the vaccine, have been accounted for by race. So 60% of that is the white American. 10% is black, and then 17% is Hispanic, and then there's different ethnicities after that. But yeah, those numbers, they show me that like, I guess the minorities are kind of like more timid around the idea, you know?
Can I ask, just for like reference, is the graph you're looking at, is it like per capita or is it population in general?
So it's population for the U.S.
Okay, because another thing is, I guess I don't know the exact like population difference between like white Americans and black Americans, and but maybe the lower percentage could be because there are less. I guess I can't speak on that because I really don't know.
You're definitely right. Because they did say something about that. Because it's like America's, I think if we broke it down to three halves, I think two thirds of that would be white, you know, and then the rest is minority. So I think that, or from what I've heard from other people, like from the No Jumper show, you know what I'm talking about when I say that? So from the No Jumper show, there's a guy named AD, and he was talking about that his people are very like timid around it because there's things that the government has done in the past that have not been up to their word. Kinda. So then like when you do say something to us and you tell us that this thing is like pretty safe, how can we trust you on this, and when your other thing was false, you know? Yeah,
well, and like from a third party perspective, obviously I'm white, I can't give that exact perspective, but I can see why it'd be hard, because we do live in a country where people of color are facing oppression, and so I see why they would be a little hesitant to take something from the same government that is oppressing them.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And I mean, like when we really get down to it, it's just like a lot of people say, I don't want to take it because of the government, I don't want to take it because of this. And, you know, there's a lot of things. But the government, Biden has now put a law forward that you have to get it in order to like travel, in order to be like in big populated areas, things like that. It's just like certain things you need to be have a vaccination card, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now people are starting to get it more because they want to travel. So the big question behind that is, were they really scared of the idea of a vaccination, or was it more of like whenever it's a convenience to you?
I do think people tend to like to argue because it's funny, kind of seeing like, oh, I'm going to fight for 10 months on Facebook and post all this stuff about how I'm not going to get it. But the second I want to go to Jamaica, I'm going to get it.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think some of that does come out, and it is kind of funny to see like, what are you really arguing for?
So that's when it's like, man, I'm not too sure how to break that part down of it, like, because that whole side of it, it's just like, I don't think that there's anything bad behind the vaccination. I don't think that there's this like master plan of the Illuminati trying to plan on us or some shit, but like some people do, I
mean, some people think it's like a population control, and that's, I think that's where a lot of the whole it causes infertility thing comes from, is that they believe it's a population control experiment.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got vaccinated. If I have a kid someday, I'll prove to you it's not.
Right. And some people, or the CDC does say that if you are expecting to get yourself, or not get yourself pregnant, but to get pregnant, that it will not affect, as of now, that the research has shown that it will not affect your birth or anything like that. And it will not affect birth if you already are pregnant. So they said that everybody from 12 and up should be getting the vaccination.
And that's, I think, like I think, if I'm thinking correctly, that it's like they don't have enough really information on either side to be able to say that it could even play into anything or that it couldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I wanted, since we're on the topic of vaccinations, I want to go back a little bit in history. I got my notes, but I'm gonna go ahead and push that to the side because I feel like I'm a little too like stop motion kind of shit. Okay, so back in the day, there was this guy named Edward Jenner. Okay, so we're going way back. This is like George Washington kind of time, So around this time, there was a big thing of smallpox. So smallpox killed a lot of people, and it's been around for a very long time. They said that, I think it like popped up in Western Africa is when they first have record of it. And it traveled from there to like Asia and like England as well. So it just kept spreading. As people like conquered new places, it just kept spreading. So when it got to England, there was a guy named Edward Jenner, and he was about like 12 years old. He was working in science. He was very fascinated with science, and he was an apprentice to a scientist. And when he was the apprentice to the scientist, and he would see everything going on, there was a dairy maid. So a dairy maid is the guy that brings the milk around. So the dairy maid, he overheard him saying, "Oh, I'm the dairy maid. I'm not getting no pox on my face." So there was this legend that went around that the dairy maid wouldn't get smallpox. They just couldn't get smallpox. And people wondered why. But that was a legend, right? So Edward wondered why as well. And what he ended up doing is, I guess there was this thing called cow spots. And it was like smallpox, but they would call it, I guess, cowpox. So what they ended up doing is they wanted to test it on a little boy because they saw that the milk or the dairy maids weren't getting infected. So there was this 8-year-old boy that he tested on. Around this time, Edward was about 21. So he graduated out of his little apprenticeship, and his colleague had died. So now he's just like trying to keep the scientific studies going. So he infected this 8-year-old, which already had smallpox. He took some of the cowpox and put it into the boy. Now the boy still felt a fever, he still felt a cold, but then he got better. And then now after the boy got better, they waited about a month, and then they put and then after they waited about a month, he put smallpox into the boy again. He infected the boy with smallpox again. Now, this time, the boy didn't get sick. His body, like, it fought off the antibody, or his antibodies activated and fought off the infection. So then after that, we found out that there is vaccination, So that's, like, kind of how it started.
Yeah.
And it wasn't his idea to do it, but he did it, He's the one that, like, put it all together. Yeah, so then that's how they got the vaccination, and then from there it just like spread, and then into Western medicines, things like that. So it came all the way over here to the U.S. And that's like it kind of made its way like that because people started realizing that they could use this as protection against the infection, you know. And then the vaccine that we have now that's going around is a mRNA, okay. And there's like different vaccines under this, like Pfizer being one of them. So what these do is that these don't have any of the infection in it. So these are meant to like go into your body, put in a little antibody on top of like where the infection would be, and then when it does that, your body knows, okay, I don't want that piece in my body, so it destroys that little thing, and then that's how you're supposed to kill off the virus using the vaccine. I mean, that's pretty like a simple way to explain it. You know, there's more complicated shit into it, but that's my small brain, you know. Yeah. But just, you know, breaking it down a little bit. But that's why they say that there's no piece of COVID in the vaccines because that's not the way that this vaccine works, you know. Mm-hmm. So that's a little subject on that. But like a lot of people still don't trust the government and everything, and I think it just goes back to like how we said the government was fucking people over in the past, kind of like MK Ultra when they So, kind of like MK Ultra, which was like a big experiment that the government did with psychedelics onto the normalized civilians kind of thing. So, do you know anything about MK Ultra?
I do, that they put like LSD in the town's water supply, right?
Yeah, so like they would test on people, some regular ass citizens, and the people who were behind this MK Ultra were Germans. And they were from Germany during the time that the Nazis were broken down and World War II started ending. And so the U.S. thought it'd be good to have, to know about mind control of drugs because they thought that the Russians were beating them to it. So they hired the people who were testing already, and which were German Nazis that the U.S. said you can use these Germans, but they had to have no ties to Nazis, and these Germans did. But we obviously covered that shit up, you know, mm-hmm. to get them the job. And then when they had this job, they had two supervisors over them. But these supervisors didn't want their names associated with this group. So they like turned a blind eye. They didn't want to know what was going on with the experiment. Okay, so basically now you have Germans who are authorized to experiment with drugs on civilians in the U.S. not being supervised.
Yeah, because people, it's like so bad that they'll tell them they can do it, but they're like, no, we're not going to watch you do it, though. Yeah. We don't want to see that.
Go ahead and do it, but I don't want to see that.
I'm not going to stick around for the shit show.
Like. That's what I'm saying. So I don't understand like how the government thought that was okay at all, and like they were doing shit like putting LSD in people's coffees while they were just like chilling at a cafe.
Well, but I think what I had heard is that they somehow dosed it into like their water tower. And then it was but I think if I know correctly, it was a microdose, so it wasn't like the full effects you would get if you like were taking a dose of LSD, but like enough where it's kind of making them think and move a little differently.
There's a report of a female being dosed for like 100+ days in a row, and they would just dose her over and over and over each day. Because what their thought is in order to get mind control, you had to break the mind first in order to rebuild it. So they were trying hardcore to fucking, you know, fuck some people's minds up and like, just goddamn, like, you know, like what a tragic thing that has happened. And like people have still, there was a scientist that was a part of the team as well, but he was an American scientist. And I think he got hired on and they like just hired him for a specific thing. So he wasn't intertwined with it throughout, but he couldn't live with himself. They say either he killed himself or he was pushed out of a building. And he went suicidal with it. So, but people to this day don't know how or what happened, you know?
It's kind of like, it's crazy to me that like, you know, when you think of like LSD, you think of it as more of like a mind-opening drug. Like if you've used it, you probably think that you almost think against the government in that way because it does open your mind. So it's kind of crazy to me that they use something that can be used in that way by people and use it to their benefit. You know what I mean?
They definitely have had research with LSDs thinking about all these psychedelics have like some therapeutic components to it. So like they thought that, you know, you can use this as like therapeutic kind of thing, but we haven't to this point. But I know other countries allow people to use their drugs in a in a place where there's doctors, where there's people that are like researching that if there's fentanyl in drugs, like there's so much fentanyl in these drugs that we have on the streets right now that it's like people are just dying off of this, you know? So like, I don't know, like, I don't know what we have to do, what the answer is, but like off of just drugs, like, I have this guy named Pashoot that I was filming. He said that everyone should just like do drugs. He said, kids do drugs, just regulate it, I guess, you know, like responsibly.
I mean, I very much think that drugs being illegal is like bullshit. I think the war on drugs is kind of bullshit because I think, you know, it's your choice whether you're going to take drugs or not. I don't think that we should make them readily accessible for kids under 18, you know what I mean? But I think once you're an adult, even if it's the worst drugs and it's going to mess up your life, like it's kind of your choice. And I don't think the government should really get a say in it.
See, I heard that the government even dropped crack cocaine in the hood. That's what I heard. Like, I'm gonna be real. I think that they were trying to get like some money out of it. They were trying to get some power out of it. Like, drugs have been used by the government as much as the addict themselves.
Well, like you look at our judicial system and you see that they'll make these plea deals or they'll make these arrangements where, you know, they'll cap someone for a big crime and it could put them in jail for the rest of their lives, but they're letting them off because they give them information about something else. Like, there's been situations where they've literally caught, you know, big cocaine trails that are coming, you know, whether it be across the border or up through California, and the government's fully aware of it and they know the people and they have access to the people, but they have a deal with those people where they're not going to get involved in that.
And there's definitely been times where they have hired people just like that. Like, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say thugs to go ahead and distribute all these drugs and do everything. And then when the fucking shit hit the fan, they arrested them people, you know what I mean? They took those people down and they were like, oh no, the government had nothing to do with that, you know? There's so many like files that just get covered up, and like the way I think of it is when you're at your job, sometimes you're like, man, fuck this place. I'm not even trying to be here, you know? So imagine like someone in an office that has so much control over like anybody, you know? There are definitely like days that there's definitely days that they're not fucking with the whole day itself, and they're just like, man, fuck this job. I ain't trying to be here either, you know? And then they lock somebody up, like, fuck.
And if they're going to have a lazy day at work, like, they're not going to be the ones to be like, oh, yeah, I had a lazy day last night. They're going to be like, oh, I'm going to, like, hide all these papers that I was supposed to do something with. And then we're wondering, like, oh, what's going on with that? Well, I don't know, because this person just, like, had a lazy day.
Even NASA, like, confirmed, or the Air Force confirmed something about, like, UFOs coming around here. So, like, there's a lot of shit that we still don't know about the Earth itself that we live on, you know? They say, like, that, like, we don't know, we know more about space than we do about our oceans.
Which is like, crazy. Like,
you know?
I think we've only explored, like, 2% of our ocean.
That, and what the fuck? At a certain point, like, I don't know, like, I was researching the Earth itself, and, like, I was researching the comet that destroyed all the dinosaurs and things like that. So, it wasn't even the comet that destroyed everything. It was more of, like, what it caused, like, the ripple effect. Because it, like, the comet came down, and then the waves started pushing, and then the hurricanes caused another hurricane over here, you know, so it just
the vegetation, I think, died soon after that, too.
And then I heard that when the meteor hit the Earth, that the rocks flew up, and they were so high in the air that it just, like, covered the whole sun, and, like, everything just burnt. Everything was just so burnt, and it was, like, hell on Earth, basically.
I think I read something that they have a theory that could have caused, like, the Ice Age, too, like, one of the Ice Ages, that there could have been another after, because... you know, if that hit and it blocked the sun out, it would have made the Earth so cold that everything would have froze back up, even though it all just melted from the...
Because all the mammals that lived after the meteor strike is said to be like, what are they called? Plant eaters kind of thing, you know? So it was always like that. And then I heard that the plants died off, how you said the vegetation died off. So the last mammals that were left alive during that time were about like 30 pounds. You know, they were really small. So like...
I think a lot of like...
building from there.
Like rodents and stuff, I think those might have been stuck around too, just because they're able to like kind of like bottom feeders on land. You know what I mean?
That's why they say the cockroach will never die. So how we're talking about LSD right now, and the effects of it. So there's a very interesting story that I want to talk to you about. And since you know about rock and roll, let's get into some rock and roll now. You know what I mean? So there's a very interesting story that I love, and I love repeating to people because it's just like, wow. What's his name? Santana. You know who Santana is? So, Santana, he took a tab. They offered him a tab before he went on, and he was like, okay, so if I take this tab now, he was kind of timing it, you know, he was like, if I take this tab now, I'll be ready by the time I get onto stage. You know, he said he had a couple hours, so he was like chilling, relaxing. So he takes a tab, and as soon as he does that, they're like, there's a guy that comes out of nowhere. He's like, damn, it's your time. Your time is now. We gotta go. So they throw his ass onto the stage, and this dude's fucking high as shit over here playing the guitar. He said that the neck of the guitar looked like a snake, so he was like making some faces, trying to make sure he held on to the notes and everything. He's like thinking about, oh, am I playing too fast, too slow? Like his mind was tripping on him, you know? So I was like, damn, imagine being on stage and you're just ripping that shit off, you know?
Oh my gosh.
Crazy, man. I don't know. Like, have you ever had any psychedelic like experiences?
I have, yeah. That's kind of why I laughed when you said like a few hours. I'm like, oh, you think you're gonna be good in a few hours? I don't think so. It's always gonna be way longer than you think. But.
Plan for the whole month,
Yeah.
because you in for it if you take that tab.
You gotta have like 2 days and nothing planned. Otherwise, you're gonna be having a bad day the next day.
The first time I've ever dealt with any psychedelics, I took the first psychedelic I ever did was LSD, and my first time I did it, I took 3 tabs. Yeah.
Damn.
I was like, the first time I took, I was like, I'm not feeling shit. This is some bullshit. You guys talking about some tabs. I took a paper. What is this? You know, I was so mad. I was like, motherfucker, I paid $10 for this shit. I'm heated.
It's a little piece of paper like Rick and Morty
Yeah,
printed
you
on
know,
it or something.
I was like, I thought the colors were cool, but I was like, I'm a damn fool for taking this so serious. You know, I thought I got one pulled over on me. So the plug's with me. So the plug's with me, allegedly. And, and I'm like, man, this ain't nothing. So he passes me another. He's like, hey, man, just take another one. You'll be fine. So I take that next one. And then I'm like, waiting another 20 minutes. I'm like, man, this ain't shit. I'm tired of waiting now. Like, give me another one. Let's get it on. So I take another one. And then now we're 3 in. And he's like, you want one more? And then I have another friend. He's like, no. He's good. He's done. He's like, no, let's not do this no more.
Good
like,
thing you had that friend.
You know what I mean? Like, he had to cut me off. I was cut off. And I'm like, man, you guys are pussies. It's fucking cutting me off. I ain't trying to. But, so we go into Walmart. And I'm not feeling anything. And we're walking into Walmart. And I'm looking around. I'm like, shit ain't right. Like, why is everything so fucking bright? So,
like, why is the wall breathing?
Yeah, I'm like, So I'm looking around and I'm looking at people's faces. And there's just like scribbled faces that I'm not like recognizing at all. And like everything's so like high pitched. Like, I guess what happens is, I would say that like your senses go off. Like all 5 senses just go, like they peak heavy, you know? And I guess when you do take acid, like there's more of your receptors connecting in your brain. And I think that's what makes you high, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So they say that your brain has more connections going on and you're using a lot more of it when you are high like that.
See, I've never I guess I don't know like the logistics of it. I've never looked into like the science of how it actually like works and how it affects you. But I've always felt like when I'm on it, it's almost sending me into like this euphoric state. So I feel like I'm a child again, like looking at the world for the first time. Like I've been blind my whole life and I finally can see. And then it's like you also have this part of it where you're almost like looking at the world from like an outsider perspective and like the way the human interaction works. Have you ever had like a experience like that?
Definitely. I think the scariest thing about that is that people are scared of reality. You know, when you find something like that, you're like, okay, I don't want to go back to the boring ass shit that we're doing. Like, let's keep getting high, you know?
Yeah.
And that's when that's when the good turns into bad, you know?
I think that's why it's good. Like they say it's like a 3-month rule. And I think that's 3-month rule is a pretty good rule. Like if you're going to do it once or twice in a row, like for a day or two, then, you know, take some.
But like you got to be pretty hardcore to keep taking it either way, you know? Like if that's a daily drug kind of thing you're doing, man, like good luck to you because I don't know.
I mean, one summer, my dad, I think he was like 21 or 22. He told me he did 150 hits of acid in the summer.
Oh,
I don't know if that's true,
she
but
putting her dad on the block.
Yeah,
oh, man.
Nah, he'll tell you any day.
Oh, damn. Well, we need to get your dad in here. 120 in the summer?
It was like 150, and yeah, he said he like popped them all in one summer. He was super young, yeah.
Wow.
It's like, that's more than one a day.
I was like, you know what? I'm about to go to bed. Let me go ahead and pop a tab. Like, what the?
Definitely not go to bed.
That's crazy though. Yeah. No, I heard a lot of people like back in the day. It was a normal ass thing, you know, to be high like that. So I'm wondering why all these like old ass people are so fucking grumpy because you know they've been high their whole life. Like what the fuck? Like
I don't know if it's something with these days they have. It's like marijuana is like a Schedule 1 drug on the same level as like heroin.
Yeah,
that's insane
definitely.
to me.
Like how you locked up for life off of weed? Like and you know back then they had like Orange Sunshine with the whole LSD going on. They had gypsies, you know, out fucking having orgies by like the come and go or some shit, you know, like they're crazy back then. They weren't sane. There was no cameras back then like that.
You look at music festivals and yeah, it's basically like a big orgy going on in the field at half of them, and they didn't give they didn't give a single fuck. And it's like you look at us now and everybody's got a stick up their ass. And I don't know what happened. But
you got any rock stars out there that go crazy for their concerts? Anybody that you know, like right now, that recently be going like that?
That like gets crazy at their own concerts.
Yeah, that goes like crazy. Performances like top notch. Like I don't even care about the music side, but like their performance is like 10.
Performance. I guess
anything like that recently?
Lately, I'm like really impressed by. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. I think it's like Måneskin is how you say it with like the dot over it. But that guy, his band is like blowing up, and that lead singer, like I kind of looked to him and his videos. Like I need to figure out how to act on stage because this guy, like, they're pretty cool. I think like Dirty Honey. Nate, like my guitar player, is super into Dirty Honey and all them witches too. They have like a pretty good stage presence. Yeah. They're more underground, but yeah.
So how are you guys when you guys are on stage? I mean, I've seen you guys a couple times, but like, is that like a thing that you're like consciously like thinking about when you're performing?
Like kind of where I'm at and what I'm doing like on stage. Yeah, I always say, like, I'm the queen of awkward. So I'm going to get up on stage and I'm literally going to give you a peace sign. I'll be like, hey, guys, I'm ASHA. This is my band. And I'm going to be super awkward. And then I'm going to give you a cool-ass song, but then I'm going to be really awkward right after that, too. So, like, I'm kind of trying to figure out, like, Nate calls me quirky. I don't like that word, but I'm trying to figure out how to, like, not let that side show so much so I can be a little more, like, what I need to be on stage, but I still am just like this awkward little thing with my shoulders hunched over and like.
Yeah, because I see like when I see you guys, I'm like, yeah, these guys are definitely those the hotel breakers, you know, throw the party in the hotel room, break that shit up, you know, $100,000, fuck it, let's do it.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I think honestly, my bass player, I gotta give it to him, like. You know, bass players are so underrated already, but my bass player, like anybody will tell you, he's the most hype person on that stage. He's like jumping around, playing. Yeah, no, it's so entertaining. The guitar,
I mean, the drummer as well. You guys all go hard. I mean, dude, if you guys haven't seen New Age Crisis, you should definitely see them live because damn, like they do go off. You guys are crazy.
I appreciate that.
But yeah, we got like rock and rollers that go heavy, like Ozzy Osbourne, like when he. There's a story with Ozzy Osbourne that he started sniffing ants. You know about that?
He started like the fire ants.
Yeah,
I love that man.
Like he still sniffed some fucking fire ants and shit, and then he like started eating his piss off the floor and licking it up.
Well, I was watching this interview like a week ago. I like to go back and watch like the Osbournes like recaps and stuff just because that family like intrigues me. And there is this video of him and Sharon sitting there, and you know this interview is like. She's like, the girl interviewing him is like, how bad did it get at your worst? And he's like, well, I remember this one time I got arrested for attempted murder. And she's like, of who? And he's like, of Sharon. And Sharon's just like, yeah, just sitting there like, so.
Doesn't give a fuck.
No, and she's like, yeah, no, I just remember he was like, they've come to a decision. You need to die. And she was just like, oh, okay. And then he started strangling me. And she's just like so chill talking about this. And I'm like, girlfriend, like.
No, they're meant for each other. Definitely.
They are. She loves his crazy. It works. I don't know how.
I like, whenever I see him, he's like, he seems pretty calm. You know, he seems like a chill dude. But like then you hear stories about like how he bit the fucking bat's like head off, you know, on stage and shit.
I think drugs and alcohol can make a person do even the best of people can make him do some crazy ass shit that
drugs and alcohol, man. I mean I even heard like the Motley Crue was like nothing compared to this guy, you know?
Well, like the Jack Daniels drink off, you ever seen that video?
No.
They would like they have, you know, a song that they play, I think it's 10 Seconds to Love. I'm not totally sure, don't quote me on that, but they play this song and there's videos of them that they would all have a drink off while they're playing it. And so like Tommy Lee's like banging the beat on the drum, just chugging this bottle of Jack. And they're trying to like finish an entire bottle of Jack while they're playing this song, and they do, and it's like insane.
Yeah, to drink that much alcohol on the road, man, that must be heavy.
In like a 4 or 5 minute song, that's
and then
like.
You gotta wake up the next day and then do it all over again.
I've played shows in Sioux City, and I felt like I didn't want to leave my house for the next 3 days because I'm like, oh, last night was a little, you know what I mean? But that's some next level stuff.
I mean, yeah, y'all be doing it up over there. Like, I mean, we're in the smallest little city, but we try to do our thing, you know? We try to make our little moves out here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, so, I mean, with all the music going around in Sioux City and everything, like, we just got, like, some really nice artists. I mean, we finally got the bands going on. Because you don't really see that many bands around here that, like, right now, it's, like, a lot of country shit. But you guys are doing it different, like...
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a few more rock bands around recently, but yeah, like, I definitely never, like, grew up with hearing a lot of rock bands. I'd hear a few metal bands just because my dad was in some, but yeah, I feel like the scene is kind of building here, though, and it's kind of cool to see, you know, people like you and, like, artists that we know and stuff, and, like, seeing where they're going from where they started.
Yeah, because that's all I really wanted to get into with this whole videography stuff. Like, I just wanted to hear the music. I wanted to get around the people who are about the music, you know? Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it just goes further than that. I guess it's just, like, people doing shit. Like, whenever I see anybody, like, motivated to do their passion, that's when it's like, okay, like life is worth it, you know?
Mhm.
Like when you see somebody put in so much work to do something and then get a reward out of it, like that's what makes life worth it. You
Well,
know?
I think it's like admirable because our generation is definitely, you know, a lot more heavy in that than the past generations. Like
Mhm.
we are going to chase our dreams and we're going to chase them, you know, without a care. Like we're going to do this with our whole
Yeah.
heart and not listen to what you're going to tell us. Like it's not going to work out. You know what I mean?
They say it's a lot easier nowadays to get like rich and famous or stuff like that off of like your passion.
They got
but-
the internet. So
yeah, I mean, obviously it kind of is, you know, like, but y'all hating on it. But like, no, it's like whatever you would want to do, whatever you guys are like really into, you just keep doing it, you keep producing it. Like the money will come, and like everybody, any person that like you look up to will tell you that. Like,
yeah.
do not worry about the money. Like at the end of the day, worry about like shit that you love. And then the money will come right after.
Well, and you got to think you might have a project that you're working on for 6 months, and it could be the one thing that happens in the 6 month that project that's going to get you your next project. So it's like you just kind of have to stick with it because if you're sticking with it, you know that there's something good about it. So don't just give up before you know what I mean.
Yeah, 'cause
'Cause
wherever you're at, wherever spot you're at in life, you're meant to be in that spot. You know. Now, where you're gonna be next, that's up to you. Like that's what you're doing here because a lot of people be like, "Oh, life's out to get me." Man, life don't give a fuck about any of us.
No.
Man. You know, like it's testing all of us. We're all going through this shit like how we are, and like whether you have the worst background story or whether you have the best, like you're gonna be tested in this life. You know, and like you just have to put your all into it, just figure it all out. And with that being said, Asha, any last words?
We're New Age Crisis, my band is dropping a single soon. It's called Villains. It'll be available on all platforms on October 1st at 12 a.m. It is out for pre-order right now, so.
So yeah, go ahead and check that shit out. Make sure if you ain't going from this video to go see the New Age Crisis like Spotify or some shit, then you fucking up. Don't even come back. Y'all don't want to see nobody that, you know what, actually do come back here because I some views. Alright, but yeah, y'all. Make sure you check us out on everything we got, Instagram, you know, YouTube. I guess you're on there already, but it's your boy Nasty Co. Asha, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Catch you in the next one. We out.
Like a richer